Okay, so I have water on the stove and I'm bringing that up to a boil, and I'm going to add half cup and 2 tablespoons of boiling water to my Dutch cocoa powder and my espresso powder, and give that a quick stir, and then I'll have a lovely chocolatey liquid into which I'm going to add 2 ounces of my unsweetened chocolate. So let me get that water. And I'm using a whisk to make sure that I have no lumps in here. I'm going to stir everything in. And once that is all blended in, I will go ahead and add 2 ounces of the unsweetened chocolate that I chopped really, really fine. And I'll give it a stir to make sure everything's melted and dissolved. In the meantime, let's talk about the fat in the recipe. So we wanted to make sure that we had the right balance between fat, chew, and flavor. So what we did was choose butter and oil to get that balance, and we didn't do it in a 50-50 ratio. We decided to use part butter, so we have a half a stick of butter that we've melted, and I'm just going to go ahead and add that. And then we also have a half a cup plus 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil, and we're adding that to the recipe as well. Now this is similar to the ratio of fat you find in brownie mixes. However, there's one difference. We're using real oil here rather than a highly processed powdered shortening that you'd find in a mix. Now, we've mixed in the fat, so if you look at it, the mixture looks a little bit curdled. What are we going to do about that? It won't stay that way for long. We now need to add our eggs and our vanilla. I'm going to use 2 whole eggs and 2 egg yolks and 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. So go ahead and put that in. And the reason I'm doing that is because the egg yolks have lecithin, which is an emulsifier. So when we were developing this recipe, we noticed that many times you would get chewy brownies, but they'd also be a little bit greasy. And what we found was that the natural emulsifiers in egg yolks help prevent the fats from separating. And so we ended up with a brownie that was the ultimate brownie, chewy brownie, but without the greasiness that you'd find in a mix. All right, so look at that now. It looks beautiful. It's all come together and emulsified. Now we need to add the sugar. Yes, the vanilla extract. We need to add that in there. And that adds a lot of floral flavor. It also takes away from the smell of the eggs and actually highlights the chocolate. Okay, so we're adding 2 1/4 cups of white sugar that I've measured out, white granulated sugar. When we were developing this recipe, we actually thought that brown sugar might have a better effect with chocolate and give us a chewy texture. However, we found that it didn't give us the shiny, crackly top that we're used to seeing with brownies, nor did a mixture of brown sugar and corn syrup give us that. So we went back to granulated sugar, and we found that we got that lovely, shiny, crackly top. So that's what we prefer to use, is white granulated sugar. You see how everything's coming together beautifully in this bowl. And now we're ready for our dry ingredients. So I'm going to switch from the whisk to a spatula because I only want to combine the ingredients, not stir them for too long. So what I have here is flour, 1 3/4 cups of flour, and salt. I'm going to go ahead and add that in and just stir till combined. This is a great recipe to make for kids' birthday parties or when you want to travel somewhere and take a snack with you. It's easy, kids love it. And it's just about as simple as making them from a mix. It tastes really, really great. Alright, so we've added our flour. Let's go ahead and add the salt so it mixes in evenly. And when that's just combined, then we're ready to add our last ingredient, which is the bittersweet chunks. And I've cut them into about a 1/2 inch chunks. We're going to add them in here so that they stay somewhat whole as the brownies bake and will be soft and melt in your mouth when the brownies are ready. Adding a little extra bit of chocolatey goodness to this recipe. All right, let's go ahead and add those in. Just barely fold those in until they have spread through the batter. And now we're ready to put this batter in our pan. There we go. Go ahead and turn that out. Excellent. This recipe was developed by one of the America's Test Kitchen chefs, Andrea Geary, and we were fortunate enough to meet her when we were doing our training, and she made these brownies for us from scratch. And they were absolutely delicious. Now, we could hardly wait for them to cool before we had them. So she had a batch already made for us, because the key to this is making sure the brownies are cool before you cut into them and bite into them. So you want to let them cool in the pan, and you also then want to fish them out using the sling and let them cool fully on the rack before you start devouring them. There we go. Let's get these in the oven.